I believe they were using some form of 5G on me long before anybody even heard of it. I mean, I moved out of the apartment on West 3rd in 2014, 15-ish. And when I still worked at the semi-truck yard, I believe it was that far back I seen them putting up 5G towers. Those towers went up a long, long time ago. The first ones, a long time ago. I was like, what the hell is that? Those look like speakers. That was a long time ago, dude. A long time ago. That was like 2014 or earlier when they first put up the first ones. I seen them. I remember, dude. And it made me uncomfortable to see it. I'm not lying. I was like, that looks weird, right? Now listen, when I worked at the semi-truck yard, I came home from work one day, and there was a little Cable One from the cable company thing on my door, and it said, you need to call us. If you don't let us in your apartment and search for a RF frequency leak within 24 hours, we're going to turn your service off. So I let them in, and they couldn't find it. But they said it was strong enough to bring down an airplane. Now, I never did get an answer as to what the hell that was all about. But towards the end of my stay at that apartment, right, there was one time I woke up in the middle of the night. I couldn't breathe, and my mouth tasted like I threw up, like vomit, like acid, and I couldn't breathe. I'm not bullshitting. And I've been thinking this whole time they were using my router, or someone was spraying something in my apartment through the walls and the ceiling. My ceiling fan above my bed, it wasn't sealed to the attic. There was a hole. They could have had a hidden camera. People could have been climbing in the attic and watching me, all kinds of shit. Like, no shit. I think people were... One time I pretended to be asleep, and they knew I went to sleep quick, obviously. Like I told you, I can go to sleep in like 10 seconds if I want to. I think they knew that because they were watching me, right? One time I pretended to be asleep. I only had to pretend for like a minute or two, and I swear I started hearing something spray, like, psst, psst, psst. I jumped up. What the fuck? I should have just kept laying there and stayed quiet and tried to figure out where it was coming from. But my dumb ass jumped up, and then it stopped, and I'm trying to find, I was like, I knew it, I pretended to be asleep. I'm not kidding, dude. And then I had chest pains long after I moved out of there. And I believe dude, I think it was the towers. I think they were using those towers all as far back as 2015 or around that time. I think they were using those towers they built for 5G back then to test it on people. I truly believe it, dude. It sounds like the same shit, the same symptoms, dude. And I thought I was sick because of mold. I was sick because of chemicals they were putting in the lawns, that's for sure. I learned that later. The lawns I was mowing, dude, they were hitting me with all kinds of shit in Sioux City. I believe they were hitting me with 5G back in that 2015-ish, and for 2 or 3 years. I didn't stop having chest pains until like the past year. And I didn't even realize that until this mold came about and I started getting a little bit of chest pains again. Honestly, I only had chest pains like once or twice during this whole mold ordeal in the last 6 months. So maybe it wasn't mold. Maybe it was them testing the frequencies on me again. But what is mold? I think mold might have something to do with it. I don't understand what. But I've been exposed to mold my whole life now that I thought about it recently. Yeah. I used to get bronchitis twice a year because of mold. I didn't realize that was why, but it is. Because the first time I got it, I stayed with my buddy and his parents, and I slept on his floor in his room. And I think there was probably mold on that floor. I believe it. And that's when I first started getting bronchitis. I'm telling you, man. Mold and 5G, there's a connection. I believe there is a connection between mold and 5G and the sun.